morning, everybody. It is I, Nomad, coming to you from the wastelands of the internet. I hope that you're all having a good day. Hope that you're all rested up, ready for the day, ready for a new news and commentary roundup for what's been happening around the world and my take on things. I do not have a co-host today. Jensen has been abducted. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Batman has abducted Jensen in order to get information from him. We don't know what information Batman is looking for, but he's looking for something. Or we suspect that anyway. Hope that you're all having a good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. But we have news, and much of which some of people have been talking about. Other people haven't. Let's get started, shall we? Putin will mobilize another 2 million, including 300,000 women, and impose martial law in Moscow. But, according to the Daily Mail, may use the crackdown to bow out in favor of a hand-picked successor. Really? Speculation is swirling in Russia that Vladimir Putin will soon demand a massive new mobilization drive in a desperate effort to halt the calamitous defeats in the Ukraine. This comes despite Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warning Moscow that it must withdraw from all occupied territories if there is to be a lasting resolution to the war. It has also predicted that such a move could be a diversion tactic for Putin to step down and hand over power, with the leader reportedly suffering ill health in recent months. Today, Putin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov, pictured above, I guess this is Dmitry here, denied the Kremlin warmonger would make an immediate announcement. Media information about Putin's address, which will allegedly announce the mobilization of the country, is not true, said Dmitry Peskov. Yet such denials are only fueling speculation that a move to go beyond the 300,000 plus already conscripted is not far away. This is in part because Putin has failed to sign the necessary decree to end the first wave of mobilization. One version is that he could draft up to 2 million, including 300,000 women, in an attempt to turn the war into a national crusade. The move is likely to be coupled with martial law in key cities, including Moscow, says Russian sources. Such a scenario might act as a political cover, enabling him to hand over power in the event of worsening health, say some observers, convinced that he is terminally ill, despite regular recent appearances, including a foreign travel to Armenia. Rumors suggest that Sergei Kiriyenko, 60, his authoritarian deputy chief of staff and ex-prime minister, could replace Putin, while others focus on Dmitry Patrushev, agriculture minister and son of the president's hardline chief security apparatchik, Nikolai Patrushev. That sounds like a good Russian name, doesn't it? Patrushev, right? Who would be the power behind the new ruler. Putin considers it sufficient to call up another, if Putin considers it sufficient to call up another 2 million people, of which 300,000 are women, alleged the general SVR Telegram channel, which expects this, and it's to be triggered in January. A large number of victims among those mobilized, according to the president, will only rally Russian society and strengthen the current regime, regardless of whether the result will be victory or defeat. Okay, there's a couple things here. Now, I don't know how old this picture is. Okay, maybe it's brand new. Okay, but I will say that this symbol here remains of the communist symbol. All right, and it shows you just what you're dealing with within the Russian sphere. Okay, the star in the background with the hammer and sickle. All right, maybe this is brand new. All right, that doesn't look like it's a new tank. All right, that they're parading down the street. That looks like an old Soviet tank with the Soviet flag flying. All right, as you go through this. So I don't know how recent any of this is. Right now, people are naturally very concerned about this. All right, and one of the things that I wanted to point out to people is we are not getting a good sense from the press, all right, of how the average Russian is reacting to the war in the Ukraine. Okay, and if he does call up 2 million troops, if Russia calls up 2 million, the problem that remains with Russian logistics, according to reports, okay, of which unfortunately there's no way to confirm these, really, right? They're saying that the troops that have been called up recently were not even given equipment. Well, if the troops that were recently called up, the 300,000 or so that were recently called up, you're not able to equip those, why would you call up an additional 2 million? You can't equip them. What's the point of mobilizing people you can't equip? If you can't give them equipment, if you can't give them weapons, if you can't give them bullets, what the hell's the point? So until those logistic issues are resolved, right, it's not going to make a bit of bloody bit of difference. Now Vladimir Zelensky wants to put the Ukraine back together again, the way it was prior to the invasion. Understandable. But I can say this: if Russia is able to call up 2 million people and equip those troops, Zelensky is in a lot of trouble. The Ukrainians are in a lot of trouble because right now, yeah, they're winning the war. Right now, they're able to force the Soviets or the Russians. Sorry for the mistake. The Russians back. Not easily, but consistently. Of course, now they have a problem. They're at a riverfront, which is why the front has somewhat stabilized at the moment. Okay, and winter. But if Vladimir Putin is serious about this and he calls up 2 million more men, or 2 million more troops, and then once again strikes at the Ukrainian power grid, which I suspect he will. Not the 2 million, I don't know about that, but he is going to hit the Ukrainian power grid again. He is going to take the Ukrainian power grid completely offline once more. Expect it. And as much as people want to him and haw and everything else about it, there's not a bloody thing anybody can really do about it. Unless the Ukrainians are willing to widen the war, which they do not have the capability of. In other words, Russia can launch these strikes against the Ukraine from areas with which the Ukraine can't strike back. The best way to stop a missile from hitting you is to blow it up on the ground before it ever gets shot. That's the most efficient way to prevent that. It's the most effective way to prevent the enemy from attacking you. So, could the war widen? Yeah. The idea that Russia is going to pull back, Vladimir Zelensky, he can ask what he wants, and I understand his point of view, right? But the reality is, you're not going to get that. At some point in time, you're going to have to come to the conclusion. I know the world wants to say this. You can't allow the Vladimir Putin's aggression to stand. You can't allow that. Okay, how are you going to prevent it? You're going to keep feeding the meat grinder? Yeah, that's a wonderful theory as long as it isn't you dying. It's a wonderful theory to tell the Ukrainians, just keep feeding your men and women, your young men into the meat grinder. That's this war. Everyone's celebrating these victories for the Ukraine. That's understandable, but at the same time, people are forgetting the cost. They're not, hello, Ms. Murder, they're not able to push the Russians back, all right, without incurring casualties to themselves. And unfortunately for the Ukrainians, the Russians have a larger manpower pool from which to draw troops. If he mobilizes 2 million troops, the pressure on the Ukraine is going to expand dramatically. Yes, it's just me. It's just me at the moment. Right, so, by the way, you need to send me your avatar DMs so I can have his avatar on you. Let's go on to the next story. Kim Jong-un's sister calls the South Korean president an idiot, warns Seoul is a target. Kim Yo-young, the powerful sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, slammed South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol and his government on Thursday, calling them idiots and the faithful dog of the United States, while warning that Seoul had become a target. Kim made the remarks in reference to Seoul's foreign ministry, saying earlier this week that it would consider imposing additional sanctions on the North over provocations, including recent intercontinental ballistic missile tests. As soon as the U.S. talked about its independent sanctions against the DPRK, South Korea parroted what the former said. Kim said, in a statement carried by the state-run Korean Central News Agency, this disgusting act shows more clearly that the South Korean group is a faithful dog and stooge of the United States. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea is the official name of North Korea. Last week, Pyongyang fired an ICBM that landed around 130 miles off the coast of Japan, and it was estimated to have the range to reach the entire United States. Kim called the launch an exercise of the right to self-defense in her statement and blamed the rising tensions in the Korean Peninsula on the Yoon government. Washington and Seoul have ramped up their military cooperation under the administration of Yoon, with an increase in the scope and frequency of joint exercises. The United States has also reaffirmed its extended deterrence commitment to South Korea, which includes nuclear and missile defense capabilities. North Korea has long claimed that the joint exercises are in preparation for an invasion. I wonder why the South Korean people still remain a passive onlooker to such acts of the government, said Yoon Suk-yeol and other idiots who acts of the government of Yoon Suk-yeol and of other idiots who continue creating a dangerous situation, said Kim. Anyhow, Seoul has not been our target, at least when former President Moon Jae was in power, she added. All right. That's enough. Look, the fact is Seoul has always been a target. Don't kid yourselves. Okay? Don't kid yourself. Seoul has always been the target since the leader that took over from the initial Korean leader. Right? When I think it was Kim Jong-il took over from his father. was to bury his father in Seoul. It has always been their philosophy. Now, so what is North Korea? North Korea is an interesting place in a lot of regards. Okay, most people don't understand this about North Korea. North Korea is an odd mixture of a current authoritarian monarchy. Okay, unlike other communist areas or communist societies, in North Korea, the leaders' sons and daughters become the power. They're like the new royalty, and they act that way, and they have total authority. Kim Jong Un, all right, is not the brightest bulb in the world. Now he's not a complete buffoon. People make that mistake, but he's not the brightest torch in the world either. Now his sister, all right, definitely has the brains to continue this. And without a successor, Kim Jong Un, without his successor, she becomes basically the heir apparent. This is different. This is different than what you saw in the old Soviet days, or even what you see in China, where the leader is elected by the Communist Party. In Korea, that's not the case. It's a modern functioning authoritarian monarchy, for all intents and purposes, using the banner of quote unquote, communism to further its ends. Now, this kind of saber rattling that goes on is normal. But to make the comment that Seoul is a threat, is a target, Seoul has always been a target. That's going to have literally no impact on South Koreans. Because they always knew that they were a target. They were the primary target. And as far as, well, it's a prelude to invasion. Like it or not, the ones who started the invasions were the North Koreans, and it hasn't changed whether you like it or not. You know, Kim Jong Un, all right, or Yong, uh, is she's an interesting person because she's one of the few women that has any kind of real power within the DPRK. But she has an inordinate amount of power, which means not only is she bright, but she has to be absolutely ruthless. And has demonstrated absolute loyalty to her brother. There were a lot of speculation that she was going to get rid of her brother and seize power for herself. The fact that she didn't do that tells me that she's got a lot of loyalty to her brother. All right. Now, perhaps she's still using her brother as a useful idiot, but she is definitely the power behind the throne. All right, let's get on to the next wonderful story here. China sentences Chinese Canadian star Chris Wu to 13 years. I've never heard of Chris Wu. All right, I know nothing about him. That's interesting. A Chinese court on Friday sentenced Chinese Canadian pop star Chris Wu to 13 years in prison on charges including rape. Oh, wow. All right. Beijing's Cheong District Court said Wu was given 11 years and 6 months for the 2020 rape and 1 year and 10 months for the crime of assembling a crowd to engage in sexual promiscuity in a 2018 event in which he and others allegedly assaulted two women they had gotten drunk. The court said the three victims in the rape case had also been drunk and were unable to consent. It said a combined 13-year sentence was agreed on, and Wu would be immediately deported after serving his term. According to the facts, the nature and circumstances and harmful consequences of the crime, the court made the above judgment, the court said in an online statement. A Canadian diplomat was in court to hear the sentencing, it said. Wu was also slapped with a fine of 600 million won, $83 million, for evading taxes by massively underreporting his earnings from performances and advertisements and other sources of income. In the June trial of the 32-year-old former member of the South Korean group EXO, or EXO, I don't know, right, was closed to the public to protect the victim's privacy. Wu has been detained since August of 2021 while police conducted an investigation in response to comments online that he repeatedly lured young women to have sex, according to a police statement at the time. That year, a teenager accused him of having sex with her while she was drunk. Wu, known in China, right, as Wu Yifan, all right, denied the accusation. The teenager then said 7 women contacted her to say that Wu had seduced them with promises of jobs and other opportunities. She said some were under 18. Rape is punishable by 3 to 10 years in prison, although exceptional cases can result in harsher sentences up to death. The second charge Wu faced is punishable by up to 5 years in prison. He grew up in Guangzhou in China and in Vancouver, British Columbia. Chinese Me Too movement apparently is what you're looking at here. I know nothing about this guy. I don't know anything about his music. I'm not a K-pop fan. I assume that this is a K-pop type of group, right? Now, as far as sentencing for what they say, what do they call it? Not paying taxes and tax fraud. Come on, that's just a money grab there. That's just that there's just a money grab. I feel sorry for this guy. You're dealing with a communist regime. But more worrisome, quite frankly, is when you combine it with this story right here. Now, I'm all politics is understand this. All politics is local. Okay, but this is still a worrisome event. Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen's ruling Democrat Progressive Party suffered a major defeat in Saturday's local elections, which are seen as a prelude to the island's 2024 presidential and legislative elections, with the China-friendly opposition Nationalist Party winning mayoral seats in 4 of 6 special municipal districts. Following the defeat, Tsai offered to step down as head of her independence-leaning party. The heavy losses suffered by the DPP are certain to weaken Tsai and is likely to intensify competition for the party's next candidate in the presidential election scheduled for January 2024. In Taipei, the KMT candidate Wang Wan-an trounced former Health and Welfare Minister Chen Shih-chung of the DPP. Speaking to supporters at his campaign office, Chang, a great-grandson of the former leader Chiang Kai-shek, said the election was a race of values. We saw righteousness conquer lies, democracy defeat suppression, and light pass through opaqueness, he said. The incumbent mayor, Hu Yu-yi of the KMT, won in New Taipei, while Taoyuan, where the DPP held a mayoral seat, former Premier Simon Chang of the KMT defeated his DPP contender legislator Cheng Yun-ping. In Greater Taichung, incumbent mayor Liu Xiaoyan of the KMT emerged victorious. The 2 mayoral seats the DPP retained in the special municipal elections were in Greater Tai'an, and where the incumbent mayor Huang Wei-che narrowly defeated his KMT opponent, and in Greater Chaoxiong, where incumbent mayor Chen Chu-mai defeated former KMT legislator Cao Che-yen. Okay. Elsewhere in Taiwan, Cao Hong-an, a lawmaker and relatively new Taiwan People's Party, in which outgoing mayor Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-jae serves as chairman and founder, edged out other candidates of Ko's hometown of Hishu. All right, became her party's first and only candidate to secure a seat in the local elections. About 19 million people were eligible to vote, choosing more than 11,000 local officials in all 9 categories of elected office, including mayors of 6 special municipal districts, and more than a dozen smaller cities in the country were up for grabs in what is commonly known as 9-in-1 elections. Saturday's elections were held amid increasingly military pressure from mainland China, which seized the Democrat Island as part of its territory, but the top issues remained on the domestic front. Most were focused on special municipal districts where the outcomes were certain to be significant. The DPP controlled 3 special municipalities ahead of the elections, while the KMT held 2 and the Taiwan People's Party held 1. Both the DPP and the KMT are considered Northern Taiwanese Northern Taiwan a decisive battlefield. All right. So what does this mean? Well, nobody really knows what the KMT leadership is really interested in a complete rapprochement with Communist China. But what it does show, and I want people to understand this, is fear is an important driving factor. When people are afraid, they vote their fears. Okay? When you are saying, let's go for independence, which Tsai was one of the biggest people, the people of Taiwan are terrified that Communist China will launch an attack. It's not a joke with them. It's real. It's a real fear. And with all due respect, they are even more terrified when they realize, at the moment, for all intents and purposes, they're all alone. Because they can't trust the commitments from the United States. Not when you have Biden in charge, not when you have Democrats ever in charge of anything. You can't trust, on the foreign policy front, you can't trust the United States. Asia is fully aware of how feckless Democrats are when it comes to foreign policy from the United States in Asia. They backstab every chance they've gotten. All they have to do is look at Afghanistan for a recent event. We abandoned Afghanistan, folks. Lock, stock, and barrel, we just walked away from it. We didn't fix it. We didn't fix the problem. The very people who attacked us on 9/11, we walked away from because of Democrat politics. Not because we're worried about war. We're the peacemongers. They're not peacemongers. They've always been warmongers. But you can't sit up there and have the kind of peace that they want. Oh, no, if we just understand these people want to kill us. What's to understand? What part of that don't you get? Well, but it's why. It's why, no man. Why do they want to kill? It doesn't matter why. They'll come up with excuse after excuse as to why they want to kill us. It amazes me. It truly, truly amazes me that we have people in our bureaucracy that is right now infested with these freaking clowns, especially in the State Department and in the intelligence bureaus, infested with these clowns of leftism. And they think that, we're going to fix this now. We're going to fix it because we know why people hate us. If we just treat them right, they'll learn to love us. No, they won't. They don't hate us because of that. They hate us because we exist. They have changed their excuses as to why they hate us repeatedly. And every time we've bent over backwards to put our hand out and help them out, we've gotten it slapped. But the leftists still blame the United States. The U.S. is the bad boys. Well, the U.S. is what caused it. We're doing it to ourselves. It's nonsense, folks. It's absolute nonsense. But there's even more instability in the world. Peruvian PM resigns after Congress refuses to hold a confidence vote. Peruvian President Pedro Castillo has accepted the resignation of Prime Minister Anibal Torres and Anibal Torres, all right, after Congress refused Torres' call to hold a confidence vote. In a national television broadcast on Thursday, Castillo thanked Torres for his work as the prime minister, saying that he will reshuffle the cabinet in the coming days. Last week, Torres asked the opposition-controlled Congress to hold a confidence vote, but the Congress rejected it, saying that conditions for the vote were not met. Torres, a 79-year-old was the fourth prime minister of the South American country since Castillo took the office in 2021, and he announced his resignation on August 3rd for personal reasons, which was rejected by the president. In other words, this guy wanted out one way or the other. All right? But what it shows is you have more instability around the world. Right? It's Latin America is not stable. Peru has not stabilized. And as the world falls into more of a depression, more of a recession and depression, these kind of situations are probably going to increase, not decrease. This situation is not going to get better. It's probably going to get worse. It's unfortunate. It's truly unfortunate, but it is what it is. How many people saw this story? Couple forces an entire Frontier Airlines flight to disembark after rushing the plane sans boarding passes. Just plain rude. A selfish couple was forced an entire Frontier Airlines flight to disembark after they rushed aboard a plane without proper boarding passes, then screamed at crew members who tried to stop them, according to a witness. "We're fired," one of the airheaded jerks, all right, can be heard yelling Tuesday, right? According to the footage posted on Instagram, the duo allegedly slipped to the plane to avoid paying an extra fee for baggage, then refused to leave amid the Thanksgiving travel rush. Passenger Nikki Leposted, at Nikki Leposted, right? All other passengers were then asked to leave the plane to allow law enforcement to confront the loudmouth rule breakers, she wrote. This couple bolted through and skipped the bag measures and boarding pass scanning, refused to get off the plane. Cops came on after we departed and escorted them off. They went on the no-fly list. The tense footage of the disturbance shows an airline employee telling the unruly couple, "You guys need to come out or we're going to have to deplane the entire plane." One of them responds, "We're tired. We've been flying for 20 MFing hours with our money. All right, you don't know what the F we've been through." She adds, "We paid for our kids just like you all. We paid just like you all. I'm not getting off the plane." All right. It wasn't immediately clear where the flight was taking off from or headed to. The footage was first posted on TikTok, but later removed. Frontier Airlines didn't immediately return a comment. Okay. I'm going to be really blunt. Okay. Good morning, Jensen. By the way, Jensen, if you want to join, just pop into Discord. Um, the airlines have gotten into a habit of nickel and diming people. Okay. Now I'm not saying these guys are right. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying this couple was right. I understand their frustration too. However, because they will size your bag, tell you, okay, well, you got it through security, but you know, we want to size your bag when they let other people through without any problems with that sizing at all. They go through it without any kind of checks whatsoever, all right, and let them bring upon other things. Now, this is holiday travel. What happens during holiday travel, right? Couples have presents. People have presents that they're bringing to and bringing from family, right? So, in that expectation, all of a sudden, like, well, we only allow 2 bags, and one of those has to be a carry-on, and you've got that nicely wrapped present. Okay, Jensen, are you there?
Oh,
Welcome, Jensen.
sorry about that. A bit late.
That's okay. Welcome.
So, we're moaning about people on aeroplanes, are we? Awesome.
Well, this couple basically didn't want to check any bags, basically, or check whatever this bag was, whatever the bag was that they didn't want to check,
Yep.
and didn't. Okay, when you get a boarding pass, now what's happening is people are you give your board. It's not a ticket that you give; it's a boarding pass, right?
Okay.
And they then put the boarding pass on a little scanner. It reads the boarding pass, and they let the person through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what Frontier Airlines was doing is they were stopping people, okay,
Yeah.
and they would they would take their boarding pass and beep it into the computer. But if they had more than 3 bags, or if there was an oversized bag, they would say you've got to check that, and then they would charge them a fee for checking a bag. Okay.
That kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Well, it kind of makes sense until you realize that almost all the other airlines, if you come up and to the ticket counter, or not the ticket counter, I should say, the boarding counter, right,
Yep.
with a bag, and then they say, well, we would like you to check it. They check it for free.
Okay. No, that's fair. All
All
right.
right.
I didn't
Now
realize that, but cool.
the reason they do that, all right, is because there's always a fight for the overhead space.
Yes.
Okay. Let's be perfectly frank, especially during the winter. Okay. And I can hear you chuckling. Why would that be? Well, it's because people are dressing for the winter, which means their clothes are
All right.
bigger,
Faulty. Yes.
right?
Makes sense.
They're a lot more, and they tend to bring a lot more clothes, right?
Yeah.
Layers, right? It's the way winter travel is. I used to travel all the time for business, right? I was one of those
Mm-hmm.
business travelers that was had all the perks and everything, right?
Nice.
Um, because, well, yeah, it sounds nice until you realize, yeah, it's nice when you're on the plane, but to get to that point sucks because you're traveling all the time. Okay.
Fair, fair. I would make one modification to this what's going on here. It would be kind of interesting if the security there was reacting as though it's 2001. I believe they used to shoot people if they went running towards the plane for obvious reasons.
Well, I think that's a bit what they did is they just walk. Okay, you know how you
Mm.
queue up as they get your boarding passes?
Yes. Yes.
Most likely what they did is when everyone was queued up, they just walked right past
Yeah.
them, right? And and that's, I'm telling you, I seriously doubt that they ran toward anything.
Hmm.
The fact that they were
Yeah.
able to walk all the way onto the plane, get and sit in their seats after they put up all their stuff, tells you all you need to know.
It does sound as though they were allowed to up to a point, i.e., until they realised, hold up, we need to get money from these people.
Well, I don't think it was
Yeah.
even that. I think that they made an
Mm.
assumption about being told that they were going to try and get money from them. Right? Even
Okay.
that was probably an assessment on their part, and part of that happens because you get you have what they don't what they have as code shares.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense, right? So
Yes.
for the people who don't know what a code share is, there are times when you're going to take a flight from point A to point B, and maybe you're technically not on the same airline, but you're on an airline that's partnered up in this area. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they do this because they don't have it increases their flight options
Okay.
for people, right? You have different airlines partnering with one another in certain regions. Frontier Airlines, for example, many people probably haven't even ever heard of Frontier Airlines.
No.
Frontier primarily flies in the northwest. Okay, is where their basic
Ah.
base is. All right, like Alaska and so forth, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, CSG looks like he's going to be chatting. He said he's chatting to an incel tonight.
I have been absolutely fighting the urge to make bad jokes, but you know what? Now that you said it, I'm going to. Well, at least Yorkie has got someone to talk to now.
Oh, you think he's talking to
I'll wait there.
Yorkie?
Oh, I had to. He is going to kick my ass for that, but I don't care. I had to make that line. And I will say that to his face tomorrow. Don't you worry.
um, look, if people want, okay, what do you consider an incel?
Honest? Okay. If we break it right down, I think Intel is a. Okay, I'm just going to say, Intel's a bloody stupid definition because at the end of the day, a person either does or doesn't have sex. End. I mean, don't bother with all this targeted statements. No, A is getting or B isn't. This incel thing is just something that was created to give them a title, in my not so humble opinion.
Was the title of loner just Chakotay saying
Originally,
we couldn't use it anymore?
that's the funny thing that you say that because that is a more apt statement rather than incel. At the end of the day, like I said, the person may or may not be getting some. Good luck to them, one way or another. Okay?
Well, I mean, if you've been raised not to be a dog, all right,
Yes.
as a man, there's going to be times when you're going to be by yourself, and the fact that you're not engaging in sexual activity, there's nothing wrong with it.
No, I completely agree with you. That's what I'm saying.
So
It's
why are these people being targeted? Well, they're being targeted because of a stupid. Okay, I'm going to be real blunt. Okay, there was a lot of nonsense that's been promoted by these progressives, right? That have gotten into the quote unquote academic community as an academic fact that was a bunch of BS
yep.
with regards to sex. Okay? The idea that everyone's doing it, the idea that no, we can't live without it, the idea that we're going to be animals and we're going to totally act on our animal instincts, and if you don't, you're a problem. You've got something wrong with you.
Yep.
You see, that transsexual, there's nothing wrong with that transsexual. They're mentally stable. But you saying, you know what, I'm not going to have sex before marriage, how dare you exist?
Yep.
And it was pushed by the left with a bunch of bullshit, and it's part of the academia where they still reference that sexual pervert Kinsley as if he was an authoritarian on this shit.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Oh, it's sexual repression. It's sexual this. No, it's not. You came up with an easy excuse so you could sit up there and go, look at me. I'm a slut, but I'm a good person because I'm a slut. See, you're repressing yourself.
Yeah.
People who don't even realize just how perverted Kinsley was. Okay? For those who don't know, just take a look at Indiana. They have a entire building and department named from this asshole who did his primary work with friggin' prisoners, and he based entire societal commentary on works with people that were perverted in prison. And that was when he wasn't making up statistics out of whole cloth. Well, 50% of boys that grew up on a farm have had sex with animals. Bullshit!
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm just going to ask, why is it that he hasn't been investigated? Or am I missing something? No. Let's be fair. He may be dead, but being investigated after being dead doesn't necessarily mean that much. I suspect this is an Englishman.
And it was part of that free love generation, and no one was really thinking that these guys are really that perverted. And so a lot of these guys, when they got in academia, all right, it's just, you have that guy Sarver. Not Sarver. What was the guy's name? Sorry, not Sarver. Sarver is the former owner of the Phoenix Suns. Who was that guy? The pedophile that was part of the BBC forever.
Jimmy Savile.
Savile.
Yes, trust me, as a Brit, we know that name, and it produces horror in us. Yes,
right.
Jimmy.
Well, how did he get away with it? It's the same way. They got away with it because they were in an era where people just couldn't believe that these kind of people existed.
Am I allowed to comment?
The majority of those people didn't want to believe it. They didn't hear it. They didn't see it. All right, until it was too late, and they ended up dying.
Yeah. Am I allowed to comment on this? I'm going to let you choose. Okay? You sure? Okay. No, that's actually a load of rubbish, mate. It was known that he was doing this, but he was, air quotes, protected by those above. So yes, he was the well-known secret. You understand what I mean?
Well known by the people above him, yeah, sure. All right, but did the average person who was watching his shows know it?
Did we know? No. Did we suspect? Strongly. That was the thing.
As long as they're getting away with it, it's okay.
Oh yes. Oh, that's
and the same thing with the academic standards of Kinsley.
Yeah.
Kinsey, however you say his stupid
name. Mm-hmm.
Right? His papers and everything are still quoted today. There's the whole foundation of this crap is based on his freaking ridiculous work.
Yeah.
Well, okay. And the man was into bestiality. He was actually having sex with the apes that he kept as experiments.
Wow.
That's how perverted this guy actually was. But people didn't hear about this until after he was already gone. But the problem is that he was so promoted, okay, that people still don't want to. They still want to hold his work up to say, oh no, this was scientifically viable. They have no idea just how much of his work was a bunch of crap. Oh well, he was doing scientific studies and he was doing research by asking people and getting them to describe things for him. And you start to find out that okay, he's not looking at the entire population. He's not even trying to do the entire population. And even then, if you take a look at the bulk of his work, okay, there's no credibility factor with any of this. Like I said, he was coming out saying things like 50% of the boys have had sex with farm animals. Really? Now, where were you getting that from? Well, I've been talking to prisoners. Really?
Yeah.
Really, really, and you use that as a basis to come up with this conclusion with the data the supposed data that you came up with.
Okay. I'm yeah, okay. Let me try this in English. Theoretically, I'm actually going to be making the suggestion that actually makes that guy sound good. Are you prepared? There
Okay.
was a German psychologist who decided, in his infinite genius, that he would test how paedophilia worked. So, as a stroke of absolute amazing intelligence of this man, and we're talking big brain here, it's really good. He would go get a bunch of orphans and he would actually hand them over to paedophiles to live with to see what happened. And then would bring the kids in and then interview them and I want you to think about this when I say this, full glorious details on what happened. Did you hear about this at all?
No. Did they shoot this guy?
No, his works are now lauded as scientific principle. Yes. I'm just going to say he needs my amazing cure for paedophilia, and that involves a flamethrower. Okay? It works every single time, so I'm calling this 100% success rate.
We're gonna cure pedophilia.
Yeah, no, it works brilliant. You ram it up their jacksie, you turn it on, you go whoosh, and they never ever commit paedophilia ever again. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Can't argue.
And if,
Can't argue with that.
so, like I
Um,
said, 100% success rate
why did you
paedophilia.
think I was going to be horrified by this thing? I mean, this is what these people do. This is who these academics are.
True, but in answer to your question, it's more horrified that it happened than horrified at what happened. It's the fact that people allowed this shit to occur. Actually,
Well,
that's what appalls me
it's
more than
people.
anything.
It's not just the fact that it was allowed to occur. Okay,
Hmm.
there's lots of ways that these things can occur. I'm not gonna go into that. The problem that I have with it is you then utilize this as a basis of of glorified work, as
Yep.
glorified academic study.
Yep.
Right? This is CSG constantly goes, well, we got the academics. They're more important. They know more than you do about this. Not only don't they know more than I about it, I'm not. These are not moral people that I can believe any of their works. Now, when you talk about a scientist with hard science, you can always check that. All right,
Yeah.
with by trying to replicate that data. This is this is with the back in the 80s. You had this big explosion within the physics community and the chemical community of people that were claiming that they had discovered cold fusion.
Hmm.
Okay, and everybody wanted to replicate their work, and of course, after a few years of people attempting to replicate their studies, all right, and their methods, they were like, okay, no, that what they this was not cold fusion, right? These guys
Yeah.
were, and then they started calling them other names, which were scam artists and things like that. Because of course, when they were lauded about finding it, they got all this notoriety. They were held up as geniuses, right? They received all this funding, which is the big issue, right? That these other guys didn't get, right? As a result,
Yep.
and of course, as these
I
studies peter out and they don't work, well, there you go.
I would suggest perhaps, given your expertise, you might want to actually tell these people what cold fusion is, just to cover your back. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay, cold fusion was the, it's basically you're able to take two molecules, like of hydrogen, for example, and infuse them into helium, all right,
Hmm.
without the high temperatures, all right, of the sun, all right? Um, because in order to get temperatures as hot as the sun and contained is expensive, all right? Cold fusion was going to generate that kind of energy without the extraordinary amount of heat. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And a quick way of saying that is that it would produce more energy as an output rather than its input. So
Well,
just
fusion
to
will create more
people.
energy of an output than its input to a point. All right. I mean, we've
Hmm.
established that that's a possibility. The problem, of course, is the materials. When you're dealing with something that burns as hot as the sun does, right?
Yeah.
Containing that heat is not an easy thing
No.
because the materials on Earth can't withstand it.
Funny enough,
Okay.
we're not meant to. Just saying,
All
we're
right.
not meant to.
Iron no longer melts at those temperatures, right? It
Vaporize.
burns. Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to understand that. You're burning iron.
Yeah.
Okay? These things are so hot that the conditions are unbelievable, right? What happens at those temperatures? At those
Yeah.
temperatures, even with normal atmospheric pressure, you're able to break down the hydrogen oxygen molecule bonds. That makes sense. All right.
Oh yeah.
This is bad.
Don't know what
Right?
you're
And
talking
that's
about.
one of the strongest. But water is one of the strongest bonds. Right? Now people all know about electrolysis, that it can
Oh
separate
yeah.
it into oxygen. This, all right? But the
Yeah.
amount of energy it takes to do that is massive.
Yeah.
All right. That's why. That's why you don't see people using hydrogen cars. You want to know the truth? Well, it's one of the reasons. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
There's several other reasons, but that's one of the main reasons. The reasons you don't see us driving around with hydrogen vehicles, right, is because of the energy it takes to separate hydrogen from oxygen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will be like, okay, why don't we get away from carbon-based fuels and go into doing it like this? Well, because separating hydrogen and oxygen is very difficult and it's very expensive. There's another major reason, and it has to do with the hydrogen molecule itself, but
Hmm.
which is another problem that we have with it. Storing hydrogen is not easy. Okay,
Yeah.
if you have hydrogen, for example, for people who don't understand this about hydrogen, hydrogen is a single proton and a single electron. That's the majority
Yeah.
of hydrogen. Right? Now, deuterium is a hydrogen proton, an electron, and some neutrons.
Hmm.
Right? Two neutrons. Right? Tritium, right, is three neutrons, but
Yeah.
it's still one proton and one electron. But this
Yeah.
is a very small. The electron shell is very small. Okay, and as a result, even if you have a sealed iron container, okay, eventually it'll bleed hydrogen
Yeah.
if the hydrogen is under pressure. Okay, and to the extent that, for those who don't know, hydrogen infused into steel makes steel extraordinarily brittle.
Yes.
Okay, so this is why they tell you, after you can have a hydrogen tank, but after you use it several times, you can't use it anymore. That's the reason why.
Yeah. Cool.
Right? Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I mean from a molecular and metallurgical properties and everything are really kind of interesting. Hydrogen is quite an interesting isotope. Right?
Yeah.
But it or element rather, or molecule, however you want to call it.
Mm.
Not molecule. What am I looking for? Elements. We're
Yeah.
looking for.
Element.
But
Yes.
it's quite interesting. But using it is very difficult to do. Right now, cold fusion. What they were doing is they were getting more heat than they were putting into it, saying, okay, we've got this at a lower temperature, at a temperature that we can easily regulate. Okay. Now, it's interesting that the initial experiments by others were quote unquote inconclusive.
Mm.
And what it
Shock.
came down to with the scientists that at first reported that they had had cold fusion, what it came down to is their setup was not done properly, and as a result, the extra energy was coming from other factors, not just other chemical factors that they had not addressed because they hadn't made
Yeah.
it pure enough. Okay, that's really what it came down to. Okay, so it's not that they were trying to scam people, but as a result, people felt scammed. Right?
Yeah.
I'm giving them the kind of the benefit of the doubt, and I have no reason not to. Let me put it that way.
Fair.
But when you're dealing with the social sciences, when you're dealing with anything that requires you to not have physical evidence, stuff, and you're playing games of interpretation, all sorts of misunderstandings can result.
Yes.
Okay. And when you're talking about societies and individualism as a part of it, we understand that there's a duality between human nature. We're social creatures and exist as individual beings, all right? Some people can make decisions completely on their own, okay? But at the same time, society has a cohesive nature to it, okay?
Yes.
But when you're trying to drive society into a different area, okay, and try and instead of actually studying it, you end up with a problem because you exist within a society.
Yes.
What do I mean by that? If you're trying to study a society, you're existing within the society that you came from, and whether you're pro that society, anti that society, in whichever way you're trying to observe this, it is going to affect your data. Okay? We know that this is the case. Hey, Sixer. We'll bring him down here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he went back into general. I guess he just wants to talk to somebody else.
Hey, dude.
Hello there.
Hello.
So you came to join us, but then you disappeared and jumped back out.
Yeah, I don't know. Issues a bit like my life.
Just admit it, dude. I smell. Okay, that's what it
is. Yeah,
that
too. Yeah. Even
okay.
Smell-o-vision. The disadvantage of having smell-o-vision. How are we then?
I'm fine. How about you, mate?
I'm doing fine.
I went on a bit of a tirade here.
Oh, cool. Well, don't let me start. I'm going about like half an hour before I have to disappear, so I thought I'll come on for half an hour.
Yeah, no worries.
We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories left, so.
Yeah. So it's plenty for you to go a tirade for then. So you'd get go on a rant for 5 times.
Well, this rant was going on for a while because there's a basis for sexuality and the study of sexuality in the academic world that comes from.
I've only just walked in, so I don't know what the story was about. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, I got sidetracked.
Gee, I wonder why.
Don't look at me. It wasn't me. Okay, maybe.
No. I mean, we moved the. No, man, everything sets him off. So even the sky. This is the original angry guy that's always shouting at the sky.
Well, if you want to be set off, we'll do this story next. RoboCop plan to let creepy U.S. robots kill suspects revealed in new controversial draft policy. A policy draft that has just been released might give police officers explicit permission to deploy robots with the intent to kill suspects. This policy was drafted by the San Francisco Police Department, and
I would laugh. I would laugh if it was actually Detroit.
Oh my God! Yes, we all see Ed 209 in our house.
Oh, even better.
This policy was drafted by the.
You are parked illegally. You have 10 seconds to comply.
Yep.
And it is on its way to the State Board of Supervisors. And if you take a look at this thing, I mean, it is like an N209, except for it's got treads.
Yeah.
Its approval will determine the future of police robots in the city of San Francisco. The policy has met resistance due to its language. It makes it clear that police officers can use robots and military-level tech.
Robot lives matter, don't you know? Robot lives matter.
All right. What is military tech?
Hmm.
Don't you
Technology
think
for
a
the
gun
military?
is
No.
military tech?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
By definition, yes.
Yes. Technology. A gun is technology.
Mhm. You know,
If
there
are-
we were just using and just lopping off the suspect's head with a sword, it would be fine. But
Yes,
if you
military
put on a
machete.
robot to ram the sword into him, that's where we draw the line.
Robot lives matter. Your move, creep.
Yep.
You're not alive. You're coming with me.
I waited for someone to say that line. I really did.
Robots will be used as a deadly force option when risk of loss of life to members of the public or police officers are imminent and outweigh any other force option available to the SFPD. Reads the policy. Um, if this becomes a common thing, can people like, I don't know, Walgreens kind of like establish when the guy's trying to rip off the store and have one of these robots standing at the thing going, I don't think so.
Robo security. Yeah.
Okay, this is going to sound bad because I think I'm talking about RoboCop 3, and I do apologise for this. But I seem to remember in that there was a kid that literally ran up to the
Yes. He had
And
their 209.
Is there anything wrong with this picture? The idea of a fully armed combat monster that someone could hack. Anyone else think that's
Well,
bad?
yeah, 209's never been never been reliable. Even from the first movie, it was never reliable all the way to the.
True.
Even on the second movie, you can see what one had 209 on its back trying to get up. He can't get back up.
Yeah. By the way, in my opinion, and it's again only my opinion, they should have actually made it a tripod because after all, 3 legs actually gives it stability to fire the weapons it requires.
Now we got the War of the Worlds vibe going now.
Well, if you're gonna go that far, you just use the little robot dogs because they got 4, plenty of freaking
Yeah.
stability.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the minigun mounted on its back.
Yes.
Lovely.
Do you see a problem?
Oh, I think we just lost control now with the conversation.
Actually, go on. Okay, all I was going to say is from Jacob. Tell him something only a Brit would to piss him off. Apparently, he wants me to taunt you. But in cross taunting here, this goes to me as well. You know that the British and the Americans, we actually got a draw, as in a 0-0 draw in the World Cup. How depressing.
I really don't care.
No, but it's still depressing.
I really don't care. I have
American
no interest
with the LGBTQ.
whatsoever.
That's
I have
fair.
no interest whatsoever in
Yeah.
the World Cup.
Let me explain
At
this
all.
to you, Sixer. Your problem is you got the wrong view. It's not the United States team. That's the LGBTQ team you couldn't beat.
Yeah.
Again, don't really.
All right.
Honestly, it doesn't even bother me. I just don't care anymore. I just don't care.
It's depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, because I don't like. It's not football to me anymore.
Yeah.
It stopped being football in the early 2000s. It stopped being football.
Well, I'm going to say this to you two guys. You are old enough.
Why did it stop being football?
Because it got too corporate.
Yep.
Way too corporate. And they're not. And the idea of football is. I'm sorry. There's probably people are not going to like what I'm going to say. I don't give a fuck. It's about finding British talent for England, for the England team. Not importing.
Well, okay. What do you consider importing talent?
Oh no, you've done things like Ronaldo and all that. But yeah, you know what I'm saying for Manchester. That's importing to me.
Okay. So
yeah.
You
we got how we're gonna get a good England team if we're importing all the talent for other clubs.
Well, I mean,
am I wrong here?
Okay, no, you're not wrong, but at the same time, then why didn't you just have like some kind of other round robin, or do you consider that the World Cup?
Sorry?
Well, okay. the way we have a Super Bowl in the United States, right?
Basically, it's
Super
rugby for
Bowl
pussies. Yes.
Super Bowl is once a year, right? Um, it's a yearly event. Other teams can play in it, right?
Mhm.
But we don't have, you know, where we're playing against the rest of the world, all right? Because it's strictly an American, football is
Yeah.
strictly
Yeah.
American kind of sport. Although we have tiers and things like that, like in college and so forth. All right, so we kind of have a system that's in some ways, at least superficially,
Well,
similar to what you have from the club teams, right?
I suppose you can't. You're all right to import players because you don't have to worry about building a US team. I suppose if there was a
Right.
World Cup, if there was a World Cup of Super Bowl.
Well, if you guys, if there was like a Euro, I know there's something like a European Cup, isn't there? That's every year.
There is actually
Yep.
yes, there is a European Cup for football. Yes, but again, I mean, again, we still have those teams that are imported. Again, you're still not going to get the show the talent of British talent, which is what we really should be striving for.
I do remember hearing that at one point
But apparently that's racist. So
the Arsenal football team was actually called the French national team at one point.
yeah,
Which-
because it was full of French players.
Yeah, that tickles me immensely. Basically, one of the premier teams, whether you like Arsenal or not, don't matter. They are one of the premier teams, and they were basically 75% French.
As I said, that a
Wow.
lot of football teams get their success from not from English players, but imported players.
Yeah. Sad.
It's very sad.
Well, let me ask a question. Is that because because soccer is not being played?
No,
But-
not
but-
even
No,
vaguely.
not at all. No,
I
it's
mean,
it's business. It's all about business, and that's all it is. It's not a sport. It's business.
well,
that's
the
the
reason
problem.
I'm asking that is because we in the United States we have we have baseball, right? But baseball has basically become,
A business.
a third tier sport. And
Yeah.
the reason for it is from an American perspective. And when you talk about importation, good God, we sit up there and take people from all over. But there's a hell of a lot, a huge influx of baseball players coming from Latin America, right? Whether
Japan.
it be Santo Domingo, Mexico, Venezuela, all right, Cuba, all right.
Let's
It's
be
quite
honest,
popular in
Brazil.
Japan, though,
within
isn't it?
Major League
Baseball.
Even
Baseball's
even
quite popular in
Japanese.
Japan. Yeah, I
Yep.
said it's
But-
quite popular in Japan.
But baseball used to be played. You could walk anywhere in American city, and you see kids playing baseball. All right, it isn't that way anymore.
No,
Nah.
because they're on the computers and iPhones, and
Yep.
Well, yeah, and I was wondering if that has the same effect.
it's same sort of effect here. I'm afraid. Yes, that's also another reason as well. Yes, it's all everything's electronic. Kids are stuck in their iPhones and tablets and computers, and then being in the media, internet, not
Yep.
going outside and playing.
Yeah, I think that has had a major effect on
Yeah.
a lot of the sports. Now in
Yeah.
America, it hasn't had the kind of that effect necessarily in like for football yet. Okay, but it will get there. It will happen because right now,
As
college
it-
football,
as
what we
it-
call
Has it happened in your other sports? Not just American football. Is it like baseball, basketball, all the other
definitely in
Well, sports-
baseball and definitely in hockey.
hockey?
Okay, yeah, hockey.
So it's affected hockey then, is it?
Well, hockey used to be real big in the northern states. right?
Yeah, Canada is more than
And
anything
they
else.
tried to expand it down south, but to be honest, it remained a northern kind of a state thing. But fewer and fewer people were watching it. Fewer and fewer people were playing it. Fewer and fewer kids. Because to be honest, it's difficult to play a game when everyone's running around trying to put you in bubble wrap. Hockey is meant to hit. Okay, football is
Yeah.
meant to hit, and this is happening in Pee Wee football right now, which is the start of. There used to be huge Pee Wee leagues everywhere in America as well, where the young kids would sit up there. We're talking 6 and 7 year olds Playing football. Playing tackle football. It's not happening now. Not nearly
No.
to the degree that it used to be.
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of helicopter parents and then my else.
Hmm. Unfortunately, he's right there.
Yeah. I'll probably get a lot of that here as
My
well.
little
And
Johnny's
participation pro trophies and all that sort of thing. Everyone's a winner.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, that's another thing that's happening. You take the competition out of it. Kids,
Yeah.
Kids get quickly to what's the point? You get no sense of achievement then. Right?
Agree.
Even when you were the worst team on, like the worst baseball team, right?
Hmm.
The one game you win is an achievement.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
That the kids savor. Right? You don't even get that anymore.
They need to know loss. So because if they lose, then they know to do better. Don't try not to lose, or do better than they did last time. They might.
Okay.
I mean, first time they might come dead last. They know to practice, to train hard to do better next one. Maybe they'll, instead of being 10th last, maybe they come 8th, and then they'll go, okay, so they'll train real hard for the next one. Then they come to 5th. Hold on, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. And
I'll be right back.
Sixer, Accrington Stanley. Does that mean anything to you? The silence indicates it doesn't. Oh my god! It's a football team.
Sorry, I just got called away there. I was just
All right.
Come get an email for me. I've been waiting for this.
Okay.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Well, what
Cool.
were you waiting for?
Yeah.
Is this the doomsday button you've been looking for?
That's me. I'm the one that wants that.
The live unboxing here.
I could have done a story about that with you in mind. I definitely could have done it, but I decided against it. I have a different story.
Why'd you do that for? It'd be much more fun.
You see?
Because you weren't around.
Okay, fair point. Fair point. I'll accept that statement.
Can you see that?
No.
Really?
Where am I supposed to be?
On Discord.
Oh, right, that'll explain why. Oh, hello. Oh, yes. Okay. We have.
This is for when I do. This is for the next.
Plastic.
This is going to be the next time I do a synthwave. Synthwave.
Oh,
okay.
God.
This is I'm looking forward to it. To you trying it out.
While you're doing that, Sixer, let's go on to the next
Oh
one,
my
shall we?
god. Oh Lord, is that what I think that is?
Oh my god.
What is
What
it?
are you doing here?
Mask.
It's an LED mask.
Yeah. Nice.
So I'm going to be wearing that when I do my synthwave. This is for synthwave.
That is sweet.
I'll let you depart from it or not premiere it. That's the word.
Yeah.
He's all excited because he's got a new mask for everybody to premiere.
No. Come on, it's a new toy. Say it properly.
Yeah. I accept that.
That was no insult, sir.
I accept that.
Good.
Well, women aren't
I would
wrong
have been
about
the
men
same.
and toys. We are boys that just want toys, even when we're supposedly happy.
I have
On to the news story.
Go on.
Missouri woman can't watch her father's execution, judge rules. A 19-year-old woman is too young to witness the state of Missouri execute her father, who was sentenced to death for killing a police officer when he was a teen, a federal judge has ruled.
Wow.
Corey Ramey requested to be present for Kevin Johnson's final moments, right? But U.S. District Judge Brian Wimes said in a ruling that the execution witnesses need to be at least 21 years old, NBC reported.
Wow.
Missouri and Nevada are the only states that require witnesses to be 21, Ramey's attorneys argued. I'm heartbroken that I won't be able to be with my dad in his last moments, Ramey said. All right, adding that he has worked very hard to rehabilitate himself in prison. I pray that Parsons will give my dad clemency. Johnson, now 37, is scheduled to die by lethal injection on November 29th for the 2005 killing of a Kirkwood police officer, William McEntry, a crime he committed when he was 19 and Ramey was 2. All right. He selected his daughter as one of 5 people permitted to witness his death, but the Missouri Department of Corrections rejected the request, a move the ACLU argues violates both the First and the 14th Amendments. Missouri executes people like Mr. Johnson for crimes committed as adults, but before their 21st birthday, illustrates the irrationality of the statute's requirement that the execution witnesses not only be adults but also be at least 21 years old. Okay, I'm going to be real blunt here. In this specific case, she's 19. If you can vote at 18, you should be able to sit up there and go to this.
I agree.
Does the daughter want to see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it should be up to the daughter then.
Yes.
Now, the problem that I have with her witnessing this is the fact that she's already 19. If they were going to carry out this execution, they've had how many decades to do this?
Well, it's 17 years since he did the crime, so yeah.
Yet
Awesome.
her child is old enough to make a decision to have a certain operation.
Yeah, but you're allowed to do that at age 3. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly what I mean. But yeah, okay. I was trying to be a little.
We're not going down that road, folks.
I was trying to be a little subtle.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Come on.
I don't know. I'll try. So you bring down the tone.
Of course.
All right.
You're a bad Tom. Bad Tom.
I feel for the idea that her to say that her father did this, right, and has learned from it. And I understand the feelings that people have concerning this whole idea that you have redemption. Okay.
Yeah.
The guy murdered somebody.
Yes.
Why? When he murdered someone when he was 17 years old.
Yeah.
So it's not the first time he's killed somebody then.
Right. Well, I don't know if it was the first time or the only time.
He's killed someone who was 17.
Yeah. He killed a police officer that he was convicted of in 2005.
Yeah.
All right.
He was younger than his daughter is now, which is
right. I see what you mean.
Funny.
I thought he was 19, but there you go.
No, she's 19.
I know she's 19, but he thought you said it was she.
All right.
19. Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I can feel for her, but at the same and they should allow her to witness her dad's final moment. Right. Yeah. But at the same time, like I said, why is this guy? With all due respect, why is this guy still alive?
Yep.
Right? He should have been executed a long time ago. This is one of the problems with our judicial system right now. And I want people to understand this. Could he have been innocent? Could have all these other things have played into this? Sure. It all could. All right. Did he have to be sentenced to the death penalty? Okay. I don't know. I don't know the totality of it. The fact is that he was sentenced to the death penalty. Now,
I think you should. I think that rule should apply to I don't know, pedophiles and child murderers.
I've given my opinion on pedophiles.
Wood chipper, feet first.
Flamethrower, much more fun.
No, but but it's feet first. But the last part would be his head, so he gets to enjoy every moment of it.
And I will admit, your way does seem a little bit more sustainable, because after all, you turn them into mulch, which is good for growing the land.
Yeah, a bit of fertilizer on there. Yeah.
Human decay is not necessarily good for land.
I know.
We're just trying to make a
Give an excuse.
Does make good chum for the ocean.
Yeah, but shark chum, yes, exactly. Yeah, shark bait.
People are always saying
things will eat human flesh in the ocean. Even freaking goldfish will chew on.
Yeah, they're called getting Democrats. Yeah.
Ooh, not wrong.
I mean, look at Nancy Pelosi. Tell me she doesn't look like a child eater.
I'm saying nothing.
Well, you know I'm right.
I have a very good reason to say nothing. Cough, cough, Hillary Clinton. Cough, cough.
Anyway,
just so you know, I'm not suicidal. I'm not depressed. My brakes are working perfectly.
I feel happy. I feel happy.
You're kidding now, mate.
It's
Not fooling
better.
anyone. He says he's not dead.
Yeah.
All right, anti-LGBTQ
Oh,
LMNOP law in Russia.
Worse.
Leaders want to construct a united conservative base. And I want people to understand this. Russian ministers of parliament, MPs, right, this week updated and expanded an anti-LGBTQ PM law, right, the latest in a series of measures aiming to highlight traditional family values against the backdrop of conflict in the Ukraine. Russian political and religious leaders are ramping up an internal identity war. Russian MPs on Thursday voted to extend a law banning all forms of LGBTQ propaganda when it was first introduced.
They saw what happened to England and America.
Yeah, well, they're not wrong. All right,
No,
it purported to prevent minors from seeing content that framed LGBTQ relationships in a positive light. 9 years later, it has been expanded to include adults, forbidding the promotion of non-traditional sexual relations in all media, books, film, and online. So I guess Disney is now banned.
Yeah, I was going to say, Disney. Yeah. Strange World, yes, Disney.
So, one little thing. When are we joining Russia?
Ooh. Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No. The latest move in a shift towards conservatism from Russian authorities that dates back to the early 2000s. At heart of the messaging from the Kremlin is the defense of the so-called traditional Russian values against harmful Western influence. Now, if you really want to understand why this is taking place in Russia, okay, yes, part of it is that they're not a Western culture, right? Regardless of what people think it is. But it starts with the fact that when the fall of communism took place, okay, and you had this, freedom that was erupting in there, certain individuals took it upon themselves to be disruptive agents, like Pussy Riot.
Yeah.
Right? And what I'm referring to is you want to talk about your sexuality, but you sit up there and want to what they did was when people were going to church, go in there and disturb these people during their religious ceremonies. You weren't a part of it. You weren't doing this, but you did it to try and stick an eye into people, because that's who these people are. They're not just saying, hey, I want to be me. No, they're going to sit up there and go, I'm going to do it in front of you. You have to accept it. You have to love me, or else I will punish you. That's who these people truly are.
Yeah.
What do you think this whole drag story time for children's all about?
Agree.
I like the way you said rag instead of.
So I don't have any. When Russia says this, I'm like, okay. I'm not saying it's a great thing, the best thing for America, but as far as from a kid's perspective, you're damn right. I support that. This stuff should not be seen by children.
Hey, comrade.
Again, so when are we joining Russia? Hey, if that came up, I would seriously consider voting for it, okay? I'm being serious.
Yeah, I know.
He just says he's doing a better job at running his government than the bloody ours.
Let's be honest, he's been in there far longer than either of our two countries by a factor.
Yeah.
No, that's very true, right? But you really want to know if you really want to ban this bullshit? If you really want to do away with this, right? You really want to stop this LGBT crap? Well, take a look at this one. Can birth control make you a lesbian? A number of women say their homosexuality was woken up after starting or coming off the pills. Studies suggest there might be some truth about the unlikely side effect of doping children. No shit. Really?
Look at my expression. I got my camera on. This is my expression. This is what I think.
Pikachu mode. Yeah.
Now, how Pikachu mode?
Oh, I'm looking at it. Yeah.
From weight gain to nausea,
horrified.
breast tenderness to menstrual cycle changes, the pill has a long list of side effects, but a number of women have spoken out what is probably the most unlikely side effect yet. They say that the oral contraceptives turned them gay.
They
So
turned the
you're
Grand
saying-
Funk's gay.
Someone had
Turning
to.
the Funk's gay.
Someone had to do that line.
While it may sound
Might as well be me.
outlandish,
Mhm.
there is some evidence the combined
I'm
and
tired.
progesterone-only oral contraceptives can alter how women perceive attractiveness. The medication works by suppressing the body's natural production of sex hormones and replaces them with synthetic versions. These altered hormones may rewire the brain circuits related to love and sex, according to Dr. Sarah Hill, a psychologist who specializes in women's health at Texas Christian University. Hill told the DailyMail.com the way that our hormones affect our brain is by nudging our preferences or behavior this way or that way. Sometimes it might nudge you into a direction that would not necessarily agree with what your brain would do outside of that. But these nudges aren't generally so big that they're going to lead you to an absolutely different person, right? And desire of absolute different types of mate. I'm going to be real blunt with you. This is the kind of thing that people in the CIA, the FBI, the rest of the world, they want to get their hands on. Is this kind of thought control with drugs?
Yep.
Okay, this
Here's a
is their.
conspiracy theory. I'm gonna do my Jesse Ventura impression. Look, just asking questions.
Yeah.
If you wonder why people were doing LSD experiments back in the day, this is the reason why. But now, I'm not
Explains
saying
it.
that this is turning the people gay or anything else. I don't know.
Ah.
I was turning the
But
frogs
I'll tell
gay.
you what, you put out a thing like this, I guarantee you there's a bunch of dumbass parents that are like, oh, I can turn my daughter gay? Let's feed her this.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
If you wanted to look for a subject that will get me wound up, congratulations, you found it.
How soon do you think they ban oral contraceptives in Russia?
Yeah.
The
It is
whole idea of
ridiculous.
lasciviousness being good for the good and natural is ridiculous, right? When it comes to
Yes.
humanity, because human beings take things to the nth degree. We always have.
Of course.
All right, let's get on to the next story. This
Yep.
one is purely for out here. Woman dies, man rescued at Utah's Zion National Park. All right. One man was rescued and a woman's body was recovered in Utah's Zion National Park on Wednesday after they were both found by other park visitors. The man, 33, and woman, 31, were a married couple on an approved 16-mile hike through the Narrows, the narrowest section of the Zion Canyon, on Tuesday. Whether they experienced when they experienced the possible hypothermia overnight into Wednesday. All right, the park officials said in a statement. Authorities had not publicly identified the couple as of Friday morning. Look, in the wintertime in the desert, it gets frickin' cold. Okay, I realize a lot of people don't understand this, okay, because they think of the desert as always hot and everything else. When the wintertime comes along and the sun goes down, it gets ice cold.
Yes.
And if you're on a 16-mile trek, okay, for those who don't understand this, 16 miles, I mean, going 5 miles is going to take you at least 4 hours generally. All right, on a trek like this through these canyons and stuff.
Yep.
Right? 16 miles? That's quite a distance. You got to be humping if you're going to try and do that in a day.
Yep.
For those who don't know, one of the requirements in the military was we had a 25-mile ruck march to at the end of our basic training, right? It's not an easy feat. and you were
Well,
basically
on that note, I'm going to have to
carrying
drop out, guys.
All
Okay,
right, mate.
later, man.
Thanks, I'll have to catch you again, hopefully. Have a good one. I got mask sorted out as well for the next stream synthwave as well.
Yep.
He's too giddy about his mask. He can't.
I am. Well, next time I do it, I'm going to invite Jensen on because we try and do a double
We're gonna
DJ. Don't
we're gonna get pictures of Sixers, all right, on the Daily Mail because of some lunatic running down the street with a mask.
Yeah. Later, freaks.
See you, mate. Bye-bye.
Hail Hydra.
Nice. But like
No,
you're
but-
saying, okay, we used to get shouted at by sergeants to do this, and yeah, these people are doing it by voluntary choice. Save time, join the just join the military. It would just be so much easier for them. It really will.
Yeah, and the thing is if you and what's more is you can see them in this picture here. That's one thing I wanted to go back to.
Mhm.
Pop this back on. You can see them walking through this water.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that these poor people died.
No.
I'm surprised that they even attempted to do this in the wintertime. This is not a joke. Okay, when they talk about the water being warm in the summertime, that's a relative term.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't want to do this in the summertime or springtime, especially anyway, because that's when you have rain, and when you have rain, you get these flash floods that come down these canyons, right? But
Yeah.
16 miles walking through this water, why would you think that this was a good idea? Right? I'm sorry, but I feel for the guy that he's lost his wife, all right? But it's wintertime. What were you thinking? Okay?
Yeah.
And if somebody sat up there and knew that they were doing this, knew that you were doing this, and didn't say, "Hey, you make sure you pack warm, make sure you take extra supplies just in case," right? You don't have to lay on new water. I'll grant you didn't have to do water, but you should have been prepared for the cold.
Yes.
People really have to understand, because when the nighttime comes, when that sun goes down, that temperature drops like a rock. And I know people don't believe this, but there's a 40-degree temperature swing.
Oh yeah.
Right? That happens in here. It can be 70 when you start out, right? And when that sun drops, you get 40 degrees down below. It's now 30.
Yep. Welcome to freezing. Have a nice day.
Okay? And your body isn't ready for it. I guarantee your body isn't ready for it. Ready for the final story?
When you are ready, sir.
I don't have a good animal story today.
No.
Man
we
with
love our animal
Mom
stories.
Inc. All right, gets sent back to the clink. A
Cool.
Florida man, surprise, right, who has his mother's full name tattooed on his chest, has been arrested for shoving the 53-year-old woman to the ground during an argument with the family's St. Petersburg residence. Again, Thomas Pinson, all right, 27, was charged with domestic battery after an argument Tuesday evening with his mother. This is not Tuesday evening. You'll see that in a minute. All right.
Yeah.
With his mother over financial disputes and job-related drama. When are you going to get a job, son?
Hold it. No, mate. I would like your opinion on something, and this is just a genuine question. Take a look at that picture of that gentleman. You looking at it?
Yeah.
How much of a mummy's boy does he look?
Oh, he does.
Which makes him actually terrifying for the simple fact that most mummy's boys, to say the least, that is wrong as an overall attitude. That guy just disturbs me. The very sight of him.
Yeah.
Seriously, you
Investigators
found out he
charged-
was a killer. If you found out he was a psycho killer, would that in any way surprise you?
No.
No.
Investigators charged that Pinson, seen at the right, grabbed his mother, Cameron, and threw her to the ground, which aggravated an existing injury. The attack, cops reported, occurred in the presence of Pinson's father. Stop right there.
Yeah, punched your face. Dad should have just decked him in one right there.
They should have beat the holy crap out of him.
Yeah.
All right. Now, your son's 27. He might be bigger than you. Pick up a chair.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how did you raise your son? With all due
Yeah.
respect. Pinson fled the residence before the police arrived and was arrested early yesterday. All right. On a misdemeanor charge and booked in the Pinellas County Jail. He was later released on $5,000 bond and ordered to have no contact with his mother and to stay away from her home.
Hmm.
Police and court records note that Pinson had a rose and the name Cameron Pinson tattooed on his chest. Pinson was arrested in 2017 for allegedly shoving his mother to the ground during a 3:45 a.m. confrontation in her home. Cameron hit her head as a result of being shoved, the police reported. Pinson fled the residence before police arrived. Prosecutors subsequently declined to pursue a domestic battery charge against Pinson after his mother notified the court that she did not wish to prosecute the misdemeanor case against her son. The arrest report lists Pinson's employment as none. He had previously worked as at the Casual Clam restaurant in St. Petersburg.
Again, you look at that guy. At what point do you think he was going to get a job that would be classed as normal? You see that, and it's just like. Actually, the only job he could do that would be air quotes normal is if he joined the military. Just look at him. Okay?
He does look like
And
he
you.
joined the military.
He does, doesn't he?
he?
And let's be honest, mate. Don't you think the sergeant would have so much fun with that guy?
Oh, they was.
Oh, yes. It would be epic.
Unless he's straightened out. You know how what I mean.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Most people don't understand that. I mean, you get somebody like that who. There are plenty of guys that look like that they fix themselves.
Yes.
All right, they fix themselves because you don't have a choice.
No.
Okay, that's you fix yourself for the unit basically destroys you.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds bad. Wait a minute, I know who that is. That's Sid from Toy Story.
She is not wrong. Oh my God, you are right there. He actually does. I looked at him and like, I've seen you before, but I don't know where. Now I know. Thank you, Sam. That is so accurate. Oh Lord, that explains a few things. It really does.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does. Right? I mean, it's sad. Look, I mean, this mama boy shit eventually leads to this kind of crap.
Yeah.
Can't get a job, won't get a job, doesn't want to get a job. All right. There's too many like that.
Yeah. And there was you talking about incels earlier. That's him right there.
I'll bet this guy has also
Answer that very, very carefully. Your next word, sir.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Right? It's unfortunate that this happened before and happened again.
Yeah.
Okay. It's also unfortunate that this happened with. All right. First of all, an argument with your mother in front of your father.
Yeah.
I don't know what the argument was. You're not told what the argument is. Okay. But if you get physical with your mother, all right.
Nothing wrong
the
with
father generally will get physical with you.
Oh yes. Yes.
Just putting it out there. Okay. I'll be honest with you. Right? I mean, I just can't see how this took place. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, then again, I can't see why you would put a rose of a tattoo with your mother's name on your chest. Okay.
Oh, I'm just going to say
tattoos that say "mom" on them.
I'm just going to say one name here, Oedipus, and leave it there. Okay, that I realise most people are not going to know what that means, but those that do are laughing at this moment. Okay.
You were right.
Again, you look at that picture, you think Oedipus, and you just go, yes, yes. It just applies far too much.
Well, I think that the perfect statement is Sid from Toy Story. It's just
Yeah.
Burger had that dead to rights.
He does though. Oh my lord.
Dude, if you wanna get away from that, first of all, you're gonna have to grow hair out. Number one, and number two is grow a mustache. Right?
Yeah.
Because that stupid little fuzz on the chin ain't gonna cut it. Well, you grow a mustache, and now you can be somebody else. God, if you let that face define you, you're a oh my lord.
Yep.
Now with a mustache, you look like an entire different person. You look like a normal person. You
Yeah.
really would.
Yes. Until you saw the tattoo, and at that point, yeah, we know where
then
that's
you
going.
think he's normally military.
We hope, yes.
You would also think he was gay.
Oh yeah. And by the way, if you actually look at that picture, I can guarantee to you that that guy has male pattern baldness when he gets older. Okay, I guarantee it.
Probably, but then again,
Yeah.
most people have male pattern baldness when
No, that's a fair statement, but I'm talking if he hits 30 and he's still got hair, I'll be surprised.
you get older.
No, I'm being actually, I hate to say it, but I'm actually being very serious with that. You can see it
I know
by
what you're
the
saying.
side, but yeah,
I had friends of mine that suffered male pattern baldness when they were in their mid 20s, like 25.
yeah,
And I felt
yeah.
for them. Now,
Oh yeah.
I myself do not have male pattern baldness to that degree, and
Hmm.
I'm much older, but I do have that widow's peak thing going
Yes.
because that's what happens when men get older.
Technically, he's just saving time and getting it done early. Let's be fair.
Basically.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate for him. It's unfortunate for his mother, especially. But I'm gonna ask questions about her dad. Her dad needs to
Yeah.
freaking grow a pair,
Yeah.
right? Or his dad, not her dad, but his dad needs to
Yeah.
grow a pair.
No, no. I agree.
You need to have fixed this a long time ago, dude. You need to start acting
Yep.
like a man. You do not allow your son to shove your mother with that. Now maybe he chased him out of the house. I don't know. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because he said he fled the scene, right?
Yeah. Again, I'm going to point out he lives in America. He shouldn't be able to flee the scene because you shot him in the spine. You hit your mum. No, I'm actually being serious here. Okay, you hit your mum. You deserve everything that happens to you.
He
Okay.
said that he said he grabbed her and threw her, right? Which means basically shoved her.
Yeah.
Now, if he raised a hand to her, he should have been shot while the process while his hand was back.
Yeah, it never should have landed. It should be like hand up, click. Oh crap! That's the moment you just stop moving.
The father should have stopped that right there. Right?
Yeah.
Now, the financial disputes and job-related trauma. Yeah. I think that this probably, it's unfortunate. The fact that he doesn't have a job, though.
Mm-hmm.
You're living off of your parents, dude, when you're an adult.
Yeah.
The best thing, we used to have places for these people, right? God,
mm-hmm.
You put them in the military, whether they like it or not.
Yes.
Right? There's a purpose for having these kind of people in the military.
Mm-hmm.
It works really well. Right? I really think that the judge back in 2017 probably should have said, you need to go into the military.
Yeah.
Now maybe there's some reason that he couldn't make it. Maybe he was already taking antipsychotic drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe he was still looking for Woody. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't ever want to actually suggest he was looking for Woody when we're talking about a guy who's most definitely into his mum. There's no that you just drop that line there, okay? Just saying.
Okay, he was looking for Buzz.
I don't know that's helping. I'll be completely honest. I mean, you could always go on to he's looking for sausage dog, but at that point you just stop right there. That is the moment you realize, oh dear.
Maybe the dad was asleep.
Yeah.
No. In this case, it wasn't at 3 o'clock in the morning. At least not in this. They said it was in the evening.
Yeah.
Right. Which they don't tell you when this actually happened. The second time. The first time was 3:40 a.m. in 2017,
Yeah.
which is 7 years ago. So he was just in his 20s, right?
Yep.
Well, not 7 years ago. So he was 22. 5
Yeah.
years ago. The bugle player, no man.
Hey, he's really good at blowing. You got to admit that. And I
Oh
said
my
that
gosh.
completely innocently. What? He was blowing on his bugle. What was you thinking, sir?
Well, I'm thinking about Toy Story and the stupid little blowing thing, but
Yeah.
one of those matter.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking
But
about
yeah.
Dolly and her sheep.
Ding, 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 ding.
Look, I mean, my question is it worth the guy living?
Yeah.
Okay, I suspect that he was living in their home.
Yeah.
Right.
Almost guaranteed their basement. Almost guaranteed.
Well, okay, you released him from prison on $5,000 bond. Where's he going?
Mm-hmm.
By court order, he can't go back to his home.
Let's be honest. Take a look at him again, and just remember, he's probably got loads of friends that he can couch surf. No, he doesn't. Okay, you can see that his idea of a friend is probably Zelda off of the bloody computer games. Okay, he's that sort. Am I wrong, mate? Look at him. You do not see him out with the lads down the pub now, do you?
No.
No.
Well, no.
No. If
I don't know,
be
man.
honest,
Have you
mate.
seen the moms in Pixar's?
Fair point.
The only
Fair
mother
point.
I can think of in a Pixar movie is the mother from The Incredibles.
Yeah, and I think we know exactly where that's going, and yes, thick definitely applies.
That's not what I was where I was going with it.
Oh, I was. I got no problem with that.
Right? I mean, the mother in Toy Story is very indulgent. I'll admit that.
Yes.
Right? And but you don't know. I mean, you don't know all the other aspects of it.
No, that's
Just
true.
show
We are.
the one little thing.
Yeah, we are
Birthday
prejudging.
party, right?
Yeah.
Which, when it comes to birthday parties for their kids, mothers can be as indulgent as they want, and the fathers won't do anything.
No,
Guaranteed.
that's one time. No.
You know, because it's their birthdays, they're allowed to do whatever they want, including cry or have a pity party or do whatever the hell they want. Okay.
Yep.
It's your day. It is what it is. He might be living with.
She is not wrong there. Yep, that would actually explain a whole lot.
On the beach, a little beachfront property there, right? Living on the surf.
Let's be honest, you look at him and he's more like he's abandoned living on the sand. Okay, let's be fair.
I feel sorry for him. I really do.
Oh yeah.
In that regard, I don't feel sorry that he popped his mom or shoved his mom to the
No.
because
No.
Look, when you get older, injuries that normally wouldn't even last a day nag on and on.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's really kind of a strange thing how your body reacts to things. Okay. That's why when you hear people talk about it's not the age, it's the mileage. No, it's the age. Right? No, it's just the way it is. For example, I can tell you right now, my dad suffered from rheumatoid arthritis, seriously
Ouch.
bad in his hands, right?
Yeah.
And I asked him one time if it hurts, and he's like, "Well, no, it's not hurting right now. It's just
Mhm.
because you know how the old hands where they got the nodules and the knots and everything at the joints and everything,
Yep. Yep.
right? And it looked horrific, right?
Yeah.
And one time my dad had it, they operated on it. Right?
Mhm.
They went in there and they basically cut the thing and everything back. It grew back, but for a while there, I was like, Dad was like, "I'm never doing that again." He's like, "Why?" It's so damn painful just to have the surgery done. And what
Yeah.
did it solve? Nothing.
He's
Right?
not wrong.
But I'm at that age now where I'm starting to see it
Mhm.
in my hands. Right? Now it's generally on my right hand right now. Right? But eventually it'll be in the other hands. It'll eventually go over. It's just strictly right. For example, right now it's really only in two places. One is on my pinky finger, and the other one is on my left hand, which is just starting on the index finger. Right?
Yeah.
But it is what it is. These are things that happen when you get old. You know,
Yeah.
it's what you get to look forward to. All of you.
I'm saying nothing. Just, I'm still hoping for it all to go away very, very soon. So, just saying.
You're still hoping for the Rock.
Yeah, about that. You might want to speed that one up. All right, just saying.
I guess it was those royalty checks that were paying the bill.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All
He's
right,
not
that's
wrong
all the
though.
stories that I've got for right now. Unfortunately, I have to get going. So I'm
All
going
right.
to cut this off here. Thank you all for coming and listening to my rants and ravings. Hope you all have a good day. I'll talk to you all later. Say goodbye to everybody, Jensen.
Bye bye to everybody, Jensen.